Hello Hogsters, and welcome to another one of my videos. This time I'm going to go back to my roots and address something important in terms of gaming. I'm going to discuss the recent rumors about the Switch 2 coming out early next year, or actually during the middle of next year. I'll cover what I believe the Switch 2 to be, why it's happening now, and why there never was a Switch Pro. Now, the answer to all of these questions is one of the same. It's third parties. The point of the Switch is that it's a hybrid console. It works as a home console as well as a portable one. The only console you should need, not the best, not the most advanced, but the only one. And to achieve that, Nintendo need third-party support for other companies to bring out full, fat AAA experiences. It's this fact that people miss, and what's led them to believe that there will be a Switch Pro. The Switch was never a graphics powerhouse, so the machine's age hasn't really changed its public perception all that much. It has, however, changed the realities of porting games over to it. You see, when the Switch came out, there was still games coming out for the PS3 and the Xbox 360, so those games could be ported over easily. And even PS4 and Xbox One games could be brought over by compromising on resolution and frame rate and maybe tweaking some LODs and more advanced shaders. But now we're 2 generations out. The graphics are so advanced that that's no longer possible. And new hardware hasn't just enabled the industry to make better looking games, it's enabled them to create experiences that weren't possible on older hardware, with more advanced AI and physics and procedural generation. And those things are not just things that have been tacked on, they are central concepts in the games that are being brought out now, and that's where the issue lies. If a Switch Pro were to be like a PS4 Pro, it wouldn't cure any of these issues. Developers would still need to go through the effort of making their games work on the original Switch, to basically hack off essential parts or create brand new assets just for that version. Bringing out a Pro version would just mean that they would now have to quality assure 2 separate graphics settings for the game with those new assets. So there's really no benefit for third parties in the existence of in a Switch Pro. The alternative solution is to do as Nintendo did with the new 3DS, meaning that developers are allowed to bring out new games that only make use of the more advanced hardware. The issue there is that not too many devs took the bait. I believe that the new 3DS only ever received 4 games. 4. That didn't justify so that's not a really popular investment to make. It doesn't make much sense. And that kind of brings us to what the Switch 2 needs to be. People have speculated that Switch 2 or Switch Pro would be relatively underpowered and instead use new technology like ray tracing to create stunning lighting, or AI to upscale resolutions and to compensate for low poly counts in that way. And based on what I just said, I believe that's the polar opposite of what the Switch needs to be, or the Switch 2 needs to be. For Switch 2 to gain third-party support, Nintendo will need fast processors. They'll need a large amount of RAM. They'll need a powerful GPU that can push those numbers of polygons and facilitate that AI and those physics and that loading speed. the machine will need to enable developers to port their games with minimum cost to use the same mechanics, the same physics, the same AI, the same art assets, have the same enemy counts on screen and whatnot, um, and instead enable developers to quite simply make the game run by dropping resolutions, dropping frame rates, and using more basic shaders and maybe tweak LODs as they did on Switch. But Jacob, you ask, the Switch already has a hard time getting third party ports. Why isn't the Switch 2 out already? Well, that's basically down to Nintendo being forced to play the waiting game. Uh, Wait for the appropriate tech to become small and cheap enough, and of course for power consumption to get low enough to make the tech suitable in a portable console. And that's another thing people don't think of. Um, Power consumption brings with it heat. So basically, if Nintendo don't get sufficiently efficient hardware, not only will they need to put bigger, more expensive batteries in their machine to make it work, heat will also have a detrimental effect on the lifespan of the console, of the hardware that you buy. And it's also going to be uncomfortable. And of course, bigger batteries mean more costs. So, yet again, by making it more energy efficient, Nintendo can uh, put in smaller batteries or sell bigger ones separately and get it out to consumers cheaper. And that's also another draw. That's another aspect that will enable them to have a large install base and facilitate the popularity of the machine. So those are basically my beliefs of what the Switch 2 will be. Um, do you agree with me? Do you have your own thoughts? Let me know in the comment sections below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Until next time, this has been Jacob. Peace.